Before I get started, I want to give a shout out to all of the paying members of my Patreon channel. Your support is necessary, and without you, none of this is possible. I'd also like to give a special shout out to for the $20,
Woo!
$30,
Ow!
and $60 donations. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, Cash App and PayPal are available. Just be sure to let me know in the For section if it's okay for me to thank you publicly, or else I'll assume you'll want to remain anonymous.
And here we go.
Layman's Journal, Chapter 237. In today's chapter, I'm going to start things off by showing a clip from a docu-series titled The Foods That Built America. And in this particular clip, we'll be examining the business practices of Henry Heinz and how he utilized the power of government regulation to grow his business.
His competitors tried to undercut him by providing food with fillers and preservatives. He always kept an eye on the bottom line, and he knew that he had to fight them. Other producers were using the same kind of glass bottles that he was using, so he bought all the glass bottles in Pittsburgh. He used what he could. Everything else he put on a barge, shoved it out into the Allegheny River, and sank it. He literally sank the competition. Nobody else had any jars or bottles to put their product in.
Heinz can't fight imitators in every market, so he devises another shrewd plan to strike back. Decades after he created a new ketchup to combat the taste of spoiled meat, Heinz plans to lobby for new food safety regulations that will turn his competitors into criminals. In the process, he'll also pressure test his 28-year-old son Howard, a recent Yale grad with a chemistry degree. Now he must prove he's ready.
I need you to go to DC and fight for the future of this company.
I'm ready.
Heinz sends his son to address the Government Commission on Food Safety convened by President Roosevelt. His task: use the commission to hobble his enemies. By 1905, packaged foods are an established part of American life, with brands like Heinz, Post, and Coca-Cola leading the way. But the food industry has grown so big so fast. But Henry Heinz sees a competitive advantage in the federal regulation of food and sends his son Howard to Washington to lobby for it.
Now I'm told you're a whiskey man. Both of these glasses contain whiskey you can find on the shelves of any liquor store. One is pure, top-shelf bourbon. The other is cut with methanol, the main ingredient in formaldehyde. The question is, can you tell the difference?
That's pure whiskey.
Sure enough to drink it?
Okay, you've made your point. I'll take it to the president.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks in large part to Heinz's efforts, President Theodore Roosevelt throws his support behind the initiative. On June 23, 1906, the Pure Food and Drug Act is passed.
The Food and Drug Act includes laws of purity and quality and consistency in what can be included in what you're selling.
The legislation paves the way for the future Food and Drug Administration, or FDA. And it makes many of the products in competition with Heinz illegal almost immediately. By 1910, Henry Heinz is one of the richest men in America. Today, the company he began in his family's kitchen is part of a conglomerate topping $26 billion in sales.
So, do you see what he did there? He used the idea that U.S. citizens were consuming products that were harmful to them as an excuse to lobby for the creation of the FDA. But his true intent was to punish his competition by creating a federal regulatory board that he knew they couldn't comply with. And I show that clip as an example of how big companies collude with big government to secure power. And I want you to keep that concept in mind as we move forward, because I'm going to show you how it correlates with the legacy media and their reaction to the election. And speaking of the election, Trump won. Quite bigly, as a matter of fact. He won the Electoral College, the popular vote, gained control of the Senate and possibly the House, and he was even competitive in states like New York and New Jersey, states that haven't gone red in nearly 40 years. And people, as you could imagine, didn't react well to the news.
Okay? Let it out. Let it out.
I'm sorry! No! Is anyone else having a meltdown? I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to wait. I'm so stressed.
I'm going to get drunk today, and I'm gonna act like an angry black fucking woman, cause I'm fucking angry!
I know some of you niggas out there voted for Trump, cause I know it wasn't black women, but I know when them polls come out and it show how black men voted, ooh, I know y'all niggas gonna disappoint us once again. Y'all always letting us down. Y'all the most disappointing ass race of niggas I have ever seen in my life. My God.
I'm mad. I'm upset. I'm angry as fuck, bro. I'm angry. I'm hurt. My feelings are fucking hurt.
And I'm fucking crying in my room this morning. My brother gonna come up in here and say, what's wrong with you? Like, he can't think of one possible reason why I would be upset right now, bro. These are so fucking, they live on another planet. And it's because none of this shit affects men. Why? 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 Do you really hate me that bad?
We always finish last. We always come fucking last to everybody, even our own fucking men.
Donald Trump is president, and I think all women should stop having sex for the next 4 years.
Okay, so since Trump won the election, we're cooked, yup! I'm gonna be leaving the US, and I'm gonna be moving to Hawaii.
Cause y'all just fucking hate women, that's all it is. We couldn't even get a white lady in office. Of course they wouldn't go vote for no fucking black lady.
And inevitably, when something like this happens, the legacy media, who are politically invested in the Democrat Party, begin to ask why. And they come to the conclusion that someone or something else is responsible. And just like they did in the 2022 midterm election cycle, they're attempting to blame black men.
Just for instance, about the demon of disinformation that permeates our communities and that renders some of our most vulnerable men foaming at the mouth, rapidly spouting anti-Semitic, anti-black, anti-feminist, anti-factual statements. We need to talk about the demon of disinformation that has black male voters in Georgia willing to support Raphael Warnock, but not Stacey Abrams.
And unfortunately, this year, black men have been a very targeted population for misinformation. Not misinformation about what they want, but about why they want what they deserve.
Right. It's misogyny from black men, things we've all been talking about, who do not want a woman leading them.
And some of the most misogynist things I've heard going on this Get Out the Vote tour came from black men. I mean, misogynist things. So you're absolutely right. It's not simplistic, and we've got to have real honest conversations about it.
Real honest conversations.
Now, this isn't anything new. I made a video predicting this would happen 2 years ago, when black men didn't support Stacey Abrams in her failed attempt to become governor of Georgia. Please be sure to check that video out. It's some of my best work. But I wasn't the only one who saw this coming.
They blame misogynation. Oh, so this is what they're doing. Listen, this is what they're doing. This is what they're doing. I want y'all to understand what's happening. This is what's happening. Kamala Harris is not resonating with black people. Kamala Harris is not resonating with black people. They're just going to put it on black men. So they're building up their excuse right now. The excuse is going to be, it's these misogynistic black men who made her lose because of their innate misogyny. They want to be like the white man. They want to be like Trump. You're going to hear all of that stuff on November 5th.
But with that said, some argue that black men not supporting Kamala Harris isn't true. That black men are not swaying elections in favor of Republicans. Because according to exit polling, black men, aside from black women, were the biggest supporters of Kamala Harris. And while that is true, it doesn't tell the full story. Because that only takes into account the black men who voted. It doesn't account for those who chose to stay home. Because black male participation in voting has been trending downwards since Barack Obama left office. And when it came to Kamala Harris, it absolutely plummeted. Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, swing states that Biden won in 2020, went red in 2024. And please understand, I don't say that to undermine the impact of black men supporting Trump. as he saw significant gains, particularly in the state of Texas.
Even here, when we look at how black men in Texas voted, Trump was able to get about a third of their vote. Now take a look at these graphs that show how these numbers fell back in 2020 among these demographics to how all the numbers settled last night. Among black men, Trump has improved his support by nearly 20 points.
It's really black men's decision to not participate in the election that's largely to blame. Because if black male turnout for Harris was the same as it was for Obama, there's no doubt she would have won last night. And for that reason, you could argue that we are the reason why she lost. And that brings me to the topic of this video. What will the left-leaning legacy media do in response? What is their plan to get black men back in the fold? Well, one suggestion is they could take an introspective look at what they've possibly done wrong.
For me, the Democratic Party emasculates black men, and I say this because they weaponize identity. So what the Democratic Party does, they put black women on a pedestal and they say, we're the mothers of the movement, or we saved the party. But yet you don't put forth policies that save black babies. You don't put forth policies that deal with the maternal death rate of black women and black babies in the United States of America. You don't do those things that lift and edify. Yes, identity is important. Both parties use it differently. But Democrats use it in a way that alienates other folks, and it offends me. So when I talk to black men across this country, they don't see themselves in this party. It's one thing to recognize the power and prowess of black women and the sacrifices that we make. It is another thing to put us above black men. The black struggle, black men and black women have to be together. We don't have the luxury to be separated, and so I resent the Democratic Party for doing that. And so black men do not see themselves in the party.
Or better yet, they could listen to men like Dr. T.S. Johnson, who's been a lifelong career advocate for black men and boys. They could also check out his black male political agenda, but that isn't likely to occur.
So I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm gonna do something that's only gonna benefit black people. No.
What they're most likely to do is create a scapegoat. They're going to blame social media.
Because you can't for too long say the public is awful because you lose. They will say the public was tricked, and we will get the biggest push on misinformation that you've ever seen. If you think last time was bad, this is going to be the drive now. Right? So the First Amendment's going to be right in the crosshairs. They're going to try and draw a distinction between acceptable speech, legitimate speech, and misinformation, and they're going to say the public is virtuous and good, but it was tricked by Trump and Elon Musk and billionaires and whatever.
And finally, let me just end with this. Our democracy is strong, and the American people are fierce. But even if Trump is defeated tomorrow, he has exposed during his time out there some serious limitations within our system. And it may be time to ask ourselves things like whether social media platforms should have the freedom to operate at a lower level of accountability than local television networks in terms of the lies they can spread.
Well, it would help if we could regulate social media, because one of the biggest offenders is D.C. and Congress have not been able to do one thing in regard to the rogue corporations of social media.
Yeah, that appears to be the plan. And we're going to talk about it. So, let's get it. Now, before I explain what they're going to do in the future, I need to explain what they did in the past. You see, back in 2016, nobody saw Donald Trump winning the election.
There's not going to be a President Donald Trump. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen because we're not going to be used.
Because Trump, prior to that moment, was a celebrity billionaire. He had no political experience, and he was running against Hillary Clinton, who not only had the backing of the media, but she had a $2 billion war chest and everything that comes with the Clinton brand. Yet Trump beat her. He dominated her in the 2016 election, and he did it by using Twitter. So while Hillary Clinton was spending hundreds of millions of dollars on ads, doing interviews, and fattening the pockets of the legacy media, Trump was sending out tweets. So of course this angered the legacy media for obvious reasons. The first being that it exposed them. It showed that they were no longer the dominant force in mass communication. But also, and this is the most important part, they were no longer able to control and craft the narrative. They were no longer needed to win an election. That presidential candidates didn't have to spend hundreds of millions, if not billions, on them just to get their message out. So in other words, the big media corporations would no longer get the lion's share of the profits off of political campaigns, which is bad for business. So in order to maintain their control over elections, and keep the money flowing into their pockets, they went on a smear campaign against their competition. They invented the whole Russian collusion conspiracy theory. They said that Russian spies on social media pushed misinformation, that they tricked the American people into supporting Trump, as if we were too stupid to know why we were voting for Trump. And it was all social media's fault, because they were supposed to control that. They were supposed to stop people from posting and sharing things that they said were not true. Now, in hindsight, saying that aloud sounds ridiculous. It sounds like something a deranged conspiracy nut would come up with. But the legacy media outlets pushed it, and it worked, because the legacy media in Washington politics go hand in hand. And because many of them were the political enemies of Trump, the conspiracy was a success. So just like Henry Heinz was able to lobby Congress to pass laws to stifle his competition, the legacy media did the same. They put pressure on social media companies by using the connections they had in Washington. And we know this to be true because of what Elon Musk did 2 years ago. Shortly after he bought Twitter, now known as X, he released documents that showed how their platform, when it was under previous ownership, suppressed negative information about the Biden campaign. And it was the same with Mark Zuckerberg. He issued a statement not too long ago apologizing for his role in collaborating with the Biden-Harris campaign to censor his Facebook users. So just like they did in 2016, they're going to do in 2024, or at least try to do. But right now they're blaming social media for Trump's re-election. Except this time, they're not going to come after you, the social media user. They're going to come after us, the content creators. For example, this past summer there was an article posted on MSNBC's website, and it says, right-wingers are spreading misinformation to black voters through podcasts and social media. And prior to that, former MSNBC host Tiffany Cross said this.
Roland made a really legitimate point here. I will say, you know, a lot of black men sometimes feel like they're ignored or they're put down, particularly sometimes even by black women in the media. So this is not that. But I do hear Roland's point that felt ignored. But you feel ignored and then you go over to the other side. The oppressed feel oppressed. So then you go and try to align with the oppressor. So I'm not putting black men down, but sometimes it's like, well, some of you Kevin Samuels following Tariq Nasheed quoting people, please look at the truth and see what's happening and get in line with some of the black women. Is majority, like he said, vote Democrat, but that margin of people who can be plucked away from your people and go advance policies that harm your people, I just don't understand that.
And again, I want to reiterate what's going on here. She specifically named Kevin Samuels and Tariq Nasheed, suggesting that they were somehow influencing the minds of black men, delegitimizing the reasons that we vote the way we do. Again, as if we are incapable of thinking for ourselves. But she's talking about content creators, not social media users. So again, in 2016 they wanted to regulate you, but in 2024 they want to regulate us, the content creator. So they no longer care about what you post, what you say, and what you share, but they do care about what you watch. And they're doing this under the guise of trying to stop mis and disinformation. But the fact of the matter is, it's a lie. It's really about money, because in reality they don't care about misinformation or disinformation. All you have to do is look at the idiots they put on air. Jen Psaki and Sarah Heinz lie and push their bullshit every day, and nobody bats an eye. So this is really about money. This is about who's going to benefit from all the money that politicians spend during election cycles. Remember, the broadcast media is no longer the dominant force in mass communication. They've been replaced by social media, especially when you talk about viewers between ages 18 and 45, which is the key demo for advertisers and political campaigns. And speaking of advertisers and political campaigns, they're not blind to this fact. Just recently, there was a study published by a political think tank named Progress Now. And according to their data, traditional media is ineffective at reaching people outside of the boomer generation. That's Zennials, Millennials, Gen Zs, the majority of the viewing public, don't rely on legacy media as a news source. They prefer instead to use social media, and that political campaigns, if they want to reach the mainstream audience, will be better served by spending their advertising dollars on platforms like YouTube, instead of networks like CNN or MSNBC. It also suggested shifting money away from TV personalities to social media content creators. So in other words, if you're trying to reach voters under age 65, regardless of political affiliation, it's better to advertise or collaborate with someone like Megyn Kelly, or Candace Owens than it is with Sarah Heinz and The View, or Jen Psaki and whatever garbage show she's on MSNBC. This is why Donald Trump spent so much time doing interviews with YouTubers. And that's what the legacy media is afraid of. They know there's no future in what they do. Their competition has overtaken them, and it's affecting them financially. But on the flip side, not all of this has to do with money. I believe they genuinely hate Donald Trump. That for them it really is about political bias. But I also think this is about jealousy. People like Jen Psaki got where they are the old-fashioned way, getting good grades, knowing the right people, and being in the right place. And even still, they had to wait their turn. They had to put in years of work within the system just to have an opportunity to be on a network like MSNBC. And it bothers them that some guy on social media with nothing more than a high school education, a cell phone, and a hot take can have a larger audience than them. I'm sure that chaps their ass. But there's also a bit of intimidation in the mix. Because at the end of the day, people like Psaki and Heinz aren't talented. They are what they are because MSNBC and ABC makes them what they are. They created the platform they speak on, and they could never make it on their own. If one day they woke up and those networks no longer existed, they'd disappear with them. Because nobody is going to subscribe to a YouTube channel hosted by Sarah Heinz or Jen Psaki, not in any significant number, because they aren't as insightful as they think they are. They appeal to boomer-age liberals who don't know how to use social media. So they're jealous and intimidated by the fact that those YouTubers, those people they want to silence and censor, have achieved a level of success they could never have. So don't buy into the bullshit. They don't care about you. They don't care about mis or disinformation. This is about money. This is about their candidate losing. This is about spoiled brats crying over how they don't get their way. And with that, I'm gonna close. But before I go, please be sure to check out the other videos in my library, as I'm sure there's something there you'll enjoy. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a like and leave a comment in the comment section. And share the link on your social media platforms. I cannot stress enough how far that goes into helping me grow the channel. And that's it. That's all I have to say about it. What do you have to say about it? Leave a comment in the comment section and let's have a conversation.
How am I spending my Friday? Some jerk chicken with rice seasoned, red beans and some bread. Got some red wine over here. And I'm watching Layman's Journal on YouTube. Shout out to the brother Layman. You know, check him out. I'll leave the link in the description. It's your boy Calvin King. And this is how I'm enjoying my Friday.